but that's my home. That's the reason I want to go up there.
Yep.
Just on a visit.
Okay, this is July 23rd, 1987. This is Joe Todd, an interview with Edgar Parmer.
Now
Yeah,
that's P-A-R-M-E-R,
Yeah.
there's no L in it.
Right. But you're from Apache.
Huh?
You live in Apache, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. When's your birthday?
May the 22nd, 1894.
Who is your father?
Huh?
Who is your father?
My father,
Yeah.
George W. Parmer.
And who is your mother?
Betty Parmer.
What was her maiden name?
Well, her name is Nancy, and her name before she married was Cup.
C-U-P-P?
C-U-P-P.
Where were your parents from?
Huh?
Where were your parents from?
My parents?
Yeah.
You might have a hook there, I don't know.
Okay. What kind of work did your father do?
He was a preacher.
A preacher.
Yeah. Minister.
Oh, where were you born?
Huh?
Where were you born?
Where was he from?
No, where were you born?
Where was I born?
Yeah.
I was born in, well, born May the 22nd, 1894,
Where?
near Ardmore, Oklahoma.
How long did you live around Ardmore?
I lived there, I imagine, when I was 6 or 8 years old.
And where'd you go?
Huh?
Where'd the family move?
Where'd they move to?
Yeah.
When they moved to Bonita, Texas. B-O-N-I-T-A, Bonita, Texas.
How come the family moved down there?
Well, they didn't stay there very long. They moved to Sunset, Texas.
Where?
Bella, come here, baby. Come here, baby.
Sunset.
Yeah, okay. Okay. How long did you live in Texas?
How long did you live in Texas?
Yeah.
Well, about 40 years.
When did you join the Army?
When did I join the Army?
Yeah.
July the 6th. Oh, I didn't answer.
Yeah, that's okay. What year? 17 or?
18, I guess.
Where'd you take your basic training, your boot camp?
Fort Macarthur, Waco, Texas.
Tell me about basic.
About what?
Tell me about your basic training. What'd you do?
Well, you're a rat.
Tell me about basic training.
Well, they ain't went through basic training on it. They just unloaded back there on a bald prairie where there wasn't no counting or no nothing. And we pulled grass down on our hands and knees and pulled grass to clean that camp up. That's how we cleaned it up. Pulled it with our hands, just down on our hands and knees, and pull the grass and clean the camp.
How big of an area?
Well, I don't know. It was Camp Macarthur, a pretty good sized camp.
Then did you build buildings down there?
What?
Did you help build the buildings at Camp Macarthur?
Did it have buildings?
Yeah, did you build them?
Well, we helped build them, yeah. Yeah.
What kind of buildings were they?
There was a board building. It's, it's, I don't know what it's called.
Barracks?
Yeah,
Was it 1 story or 2 stories?
one story.
What kind of training did you have down there? You know, like rifle training, bayonet training?
We had rifle training.
What kind of rifle did you use?
We used a 30-38 Springfield.
At the Springfield 03?
Springfield, what we used. That was before the Enfield.
Did
But
you,
that's what we used, the Springfield.
what kind of targets did you have?
Huh?
What kind of targets were you shooting at?
Well, we had them. We had them in a ditch, and with dummies, you might say. We're shooting at dummies. They're in a ditch, 100, 200, and 300, and 400 was the distance. And every way we made different ones.
Did you fire expert?
Huh?
Did you get an expert badge?
Rating?
Yeah.
Well, I was number 4 in the 250 company. I was the 4th best. I don't know where you'd call that.
What company were you in?
Company K, 9th Battalion, SARD. September Automatic Replacement Camp. That's it, that was it.
How many men were at Camp Macarthur?
Huh?
How many men were at Camp Macarthur?
How many was it kept there at
Yeah.
Camp Macarthur? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's a company, but I don't know whether it's more than a company or not.
How about your bayonet training?
How much what?
Your bayonet training.
Well, I had bayonet training.
Tell me about that.
Well, there wasn't much to tell about that.
Well, what'd you do?
We were just practicing bayonet training. It was just dummies. We were shooting and punching dummies, that's all I know. And we got them, but they was dummies, see. That's what we were doing. We were shooting and gutting dummies.
What kind of physical training did you do? Did you run or do calisthenics?
We done all that. We done every morning. We get out on that frozen ground and pull our clothes off, as top coat, and get out in that frost with our face. Wow, that's a booger. It don't sound like it, but you get out in that in frost in the morning with your shirt tail hanging out and flopping, and you'll know you've been somewhere. That's where I was.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about your average day in basic. What time did you get up in the morning?
What time did we get up?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but pretty early.
What kind of breakfast did you have?
Breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know really just what we did have. But I'd suggest, I would think, that we have bacon and eggs. We eat good.
Mm-hmm. What about your dinner and supper?
Dinner and supper, well, I wouldn't say what it was, but it was wholesome food. It was good food.
How long did your basic training last? How many weeks?
How many weeks?
Yeah.
I was in training there 6 months
6 months.
in Waco, Texas, Camp Macarthur. I was there 6 months.
You ever go to downtown Waco?
Everywhere.
You ever get to go to Waco?
I went once and had my picture made.
You still got the picture?
They never did come home. The old boy that made him, I paid him, but he kept the money and never did send them. He knew I was going across, so he never even developed them. I just lost that. And I wanted them. I sent home after I got over in France, and I told them about it, and I said, save them, I want them. And they said they never did come. That old boy never did send them. He never did develop them. He just made that $4, I think, or whatever it was I paid him. He just made it clear.
Mm-hmm. How far from Waco is Camp Macarthur?
I don't know. I really don't know. But not a long ways.
Is it north or south from Waco?
Yeah, Macarthur. From Waco, it must be north.
Mm-hmm. You ever date any of the Baylor girls?
Ever what?
Date any of the Baylor girls going to school there?
Ever date them
Yeah.
with the Baylor Girls?
Yeah, you know, Baylor University in Waco.
Oh. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Did the girls ever come out to the camp?
Yeah, there was girls come out to the camp.
What'd they do?
They didn't do much of anything, or just paraded around, made a little talk. Nice and everything. But it wasn't worth much to tell.
Mm-hmm.
In that part of it.
Tell me about going over.
Going over?
Yeah, to France.
Going across?
Yeah, going across.
Well, I don't know about that.
What ship were you
I'll
on?
tell you one thing though.
Okay.
I was a sergeant in charge of 40 men on the troop train. And we got off the train at Camp Marion. And we hiked, I'd say, quite a little piece. And my captain says, Sergeant, where's your rifle? I said, it's in the car, hanging up where I left it. You better go get it. What if we meet some Germans and you don't have no gun? Said, you go get your gun now. You can catch us. I had a bunch of men in charge, and I forgot my own stuff, see. I just left my gun hanging up on the rack. And I went back there, the train is still there, and I got on there and there was my gun hanging up. Mm-hmm. So I went and got my gun, went and caught my company.
Where was that?
That was in Camp Marion, New Jersey.
New Jersey. What did you ship out? You leave New York City, New York Harbor?
Yeah.
You passed the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah. I passed it.
What did it look like?
Well, you've seen it, the picture of it, many a time. But it's just like the picture.
What ship were you on?
What ship?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they called at that time Leviathan. It was the biggest ship afloat. It was a German ship. But when the war declared, we taken it over. It was in the harbor in New York. We confiscated it, taken it over, and that was it. Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
Was what they called it.
How many men were on that ship?
Well, I don't know, but it was a pretty good sized ship, I'll tell you now. And there was a lot of men on it too. You was just like you'd on a little town.
Where'd you sleep?
Huh?
Where'd you sleep on the ship?
Where to sleep?
Yeah.
We had our bunks.
I mean, what part of the ship were you in?
Well, I don't know what you'd call it, the dugout. I can't remember.
Were you down below deck?
Yeah,
Were the bunks stacked?
yeah.
How many bunks were stacked? Were they 3 high or 4 high?
I don't know. I'd say I just say 2.
Were you top or bottom?
I don't top.
Did you get seasick?
Mm, no.
No.
Everybody did but me. If I'd have moved, I would have. I'd have vomited. I just ran on the stomach, a hole in my belly like that. And I wasn't saying nothing because if I did, I'd go to vomiting. And I know there would, I could feel it. But everybody else was vomiting.
What kind of meals did you have on the ship?
Meals?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I guess good type of food though.
Did you ever hear about the German U-boats?
What?
Ever come in contact with the German U-boats, the submarines going over?
For the German who?
Submarines.
Yeah. And the ship as we went over, we was on the Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
We took the crack at 2 submarines.
You did. Did you hit them?
They went up and showed the tail up and went under. That's all we ever did know where we hit them. Probably sunk them. Cause the gun we was shooting, it wasn't no toy.
Were you shooting it?
Huh?
Were you a gunner?
Yeah, I don't know why you'd call it a gun or not, but I was a helper anyway, helping with it. And we shot at that thing, whatever it was. There was something out there, 2 of them.
What size gun was it?
I don't know. But it was no toy.
Where did you land in France?
Brest.
Tell me about Brest.
Well, when we landed in Brest, France, there wasn't nothing there but just an empty building. There wasn't no doors nor windows in it. It's just an open building. And they run us in there. And then later they built some doors and windows.
How long you at Brest?
How long?
Yeah.
I was in France 6 months.
When you left Brest, where'd you go?
When I left Brest,
Yeah.
went to a rest camp.
Where's that?
Well, there's a little place out there. They call it a rest camp, but it wasn't. It was a work camp.
What kind of work did you do?
Everything there was in the army.
Like what?
Well, like whatever they had to come up with, they put you in there. I wouldn't want this to be on the
Go ahead.
No, I wouldn't do.
Here.
It's colored boys was in there, you know, in the army, and they were good. But they had us to make the colored boys get out. We didn't want to do that, but we had to. So we made them get out and let us have the barracks.
How come they did that?
Well, they just give that priority to us. Wasn't nothing wrong with them colored boys. They was doing their duty, but they had to get out and give us their bags. That's all there was to it.
Where was this camp? What part of France?
What part of France?
Yeah.
When we left Brest, well, we went out to what they called a rest camp.
How'd you travel?
We traveled afoot, I guess. Way I remember it.
You traveled on the trains in France?
In France?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the French trains compare to American trains?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. There's no comparison.
When did you first see the Germans?
Huh?
When did you first see the Germans?
When I first see them,
Yeah.
when I first see a German,
Yeah.
well, we had Germans in our camp.
You did?
Soldiers in there. They was all right, for as I know.
Were they prisoners?
No, they wasn't prisoners. They were soldiers. We might have had some prisoners too in there, but we had soldiers, German soldiers in there.
What were they doing in there?
They was serving their time like I was.
No, these are American soldiers.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm talking about the German soldiers in Germany.
Oh, I don't know. I can't, I couldn't give you nothing on that. They was there all right, but I couldn't give you nothing on that.
Tell me about the trenches.
That what?
The trenches.
Prisoner?
The trenches. You know, the trenches that you dug in France?
Friendship?
No, the trenches.
What?
You know, the trenches in France that you got down in.
I don't know what you're trying to tell me.
You know, the trench warfare in France. You got down in the trenches, down in the ground.
Oh, in the trenches.
Yeah.
The trenches.
The trenches. Yeah.
Yeah, the trenches.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, I know about the trenches. Well, you dig you a place to hide in. That's all there are to them trenches. You dig you out a place and get in it quick. So that's all there are to that.
How long were those trenches?
Indefinitely. Some of them was longer than others.
Would you describe what the inside of that trench looked like?
Well, yeah. If you know what I mean. About like a buffalo waller. It just rolled out a hole in the ground. And it wasn't dug with no spade. You just dug out a place there and got right in it as low down as you could. It was just kind of like a buffalo waller. That was the trenches that we had.
I heard some of those trenches zigzagged.
Zigzag.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they zigzag. But I couldn't explain much about that. The ones I was in was, as far as I know and recall, it was just a trench. No zigzag to it. But I know there was zigzags.
Were you in any of the big battles?
Huh?
Were you in any of the big battles during the war?
And any what?
The battles, like, you know, Saint Mihiel, the Meuse Argonne.
Was I in any battle?
Yeah.
Well, I helped unload the wounded over the front. Was a brigade. I was a sergeant, and that was my duty, to unload them and take them back to the base at the hospital for recuperation.
Where'd you do that?
I don't know. I don't even know the name of the place.
Mm-hmm.
But it was at a base hospital.
Yeah. Were you anywhere near Stenay?
Huh?
Did you go near the town of Stenay?
And what?
There's a town in France called Stenay. Or Nancy.
What's that?
It's a town in France.
Oh, you what? The name of the town?
Yeah.
But what do you call it?
There was a town called Stenay.
I can't remember that
Yeah.
at all.
What? Oh, go ahead.
I can't remember that name.
What unit were you in France?
I was in a off-duty unit that there wasn't much going on where I was at that time.
Were you in the 90th or 36th Division?
Huh?
Were you in the 90th or the 36th Division?
I was in the replacement camp.
Replacement camp.
Yeah.
Did you ever go over the top?
No. I don't guess I did. The shells was going over my top, but I didn't go over the top. The shells were whining in every direction over my head. And I was in a trench.
You don't know where you were then, do you, when that happened?
I was off from Brest a little ways. But I don't know the particulars of it. But them shells were whining. I could hear them. They'd scream. Yeah. But that's about all there was there.
Where were you on Armistice Day?
An armistice sign,
Yeah.
I was up on the side of a hill where there were 10,000 soldiers in a mob. And they told us, we're going to tell you something. And don't want nobody to do nothing, say nothing. Just be quiet, but we're going to tell you something. Armistice sign. And they didn't nobody yell. Why didn't they? Why didn't they break loose?
Why didn't you?
I don't know. Didn't everybody? Well, everybody. They had an officer right there that said, now whenever he tells us, don't say nothing. Just take it easy. And he was looking right down your throat. He didn't aim for you to say anything. And they didn't know why to say nothing. If one guy would have yelled for it, all broke loose. Didn't know what it is. Say nothing.
Was there a celebration later on?
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Did you celebrate?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you do?
Celebrated.
How?
Well, the war was over. I sewed up my hat and I hollered and danced the jig around quite a while, a long time, till they got me to bed. I pooped. That's all I know. I don't know a lot of that
Did they
stuff.
give you wine to drink?
I never drank wine.
You didn't. How about champagne?
I never drank champagne or wild women.
You didn't.
I didn't have no women desire, no kind of alcohol. I didn't have any. I could have, but I was learning home not to. I come up under a Christian family, and I stayed with it.
Did many of the boys drink when the armistice was signed?
Huh?
Did a lot of the boys get drunk when the armistice was signed?
Well, they throwed their hats as high as they could throw them, and done everything under the sun that you could imagine.
Like what? What'd they do?
Celebrated.
How-
If you want to know what that is, or you just get back over there with some of them. They celebrated.
Tell me what they did.
I don't know, they just celebrated. They done everything under the sun that they wanted to or could do. They celebrated. And I just hooped and hollered with the rest of them. That's all there was to it.
Did you ever get to Paris?
No. I never did get to Paris. There was a little guy, maybe your kinfolk. His name was Box. B-O-X-X. They let him and a bunch more go to Paris. And they would let about, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 go to Paris today and said, now y'all be in here by 10 o'clock tonight. And we'll let another bunch go to Paris. And if you don't come back, ain't nobody else going. Well, they didn't come back, so I didn't go. Box is the one they kept, and never did find him. He's the one that kept the rest of us from going to Paris. But I never went to Paris.
Tell me about the trip back to the States.
The what?
The trip back to the States.
Ship back to the States?
Yeah.
That's a dirty place in the whole outfit. There wasn't much to it. It was a little ship. It didn't carry very many. I don't remember how many, but very few though. I remember it was an Italian ship. Brought us back for $1,000 a piece. They paid us $1,000 a piece, paid the government $1,000 a piece for our return on their ship. They just lent the ship to them, you might say.
What was the name of the ship?
The name of the ship that we come back on?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember that ship. But it was a very unimportant ship.
You come into New York?
Huh?
You come into New York?
Did you come to New York?
Yeah, did you come into New York?
Yeah.
You see the Statue of Liberty again?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
What'd you think of it that time?
What did it look like?
No, what'd you think when you saw it coming back?
What?
What'd you think about it when you saw it coming
Well,
back?
I thought that's the baby I've been wanting to see. Yeah, and we've seen it again. We've seen it when we went across, and we've seen it when we come back.
Tell me some more about being in France.
There wasn't much more to it. It was just a hillbilly place there that, a place you didn't want to go back to. Never. And I've never wanted to go back over there. Because it wasn't very nice, and they didn't take care of us too good. And we had this don't come in your business, but we had a 10-acre turnip patch right close to us. We eat them up, raw. We just go out there and they tried to guard us to keep us out of them turnips. And we overpowered the guard and went in there and got what turnips we wanted. And we'd got some of them and eat them and got some of them and cooked them. We had turnips there as long as them 10 acres lasted.
Where was that?
It was in France, but I don't know where.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do after your discharge?
After I was discharged,
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I went home.
To Texas?
Yeah, I went to Texas and went to work,
Where? What kind of work did you do?
farm.
Where were you farming at? Bonita?
No, I was farming in Sunset, Texas. They had me 7 acres rented. They knowed when I was coming home. I wrote to my folks every other day, and I never did, as long as I was in France, get a letter or a scratch from nobody.
You didn't.
Nobody never wrote me. It wasn't their fault, it was the postal service. After I got home one day, I got 16 letters. They come around and hunted me up and finally found me. But while I was in there, they never did find me.
What kind of crops were you raising?
Cotton was the main money crop. Cotton and corn.
How many pounds could you pick in one day?
Huh?
How many pounds could you pick in one day?
How many pounds? Well, mine, a good pound for me was 300 pounds. That was a big day's run.
Where was the gin?
Where was it?
Yeah.
Sunset, Texas.
You know who ran the gin?
Huh?
Who ran the gin? Who owned the gin?
Who owned the gin?
Yeah.
The gin?
Yeah.
Well, there were 2 or 3 ginners. One of them was golf. But I think there's 1 or 2 after him. He was way back before I got hooked up with. I can't think of them guys' names, or I can't think of them other boys' names. But there was 1 ginner named Golf.
When did you move to Apache?
Huh?
When did you move to Apache?
When did I move to Apache? Well, I moved to Apache from Sunset, or wherever I was. I moved to Apache in 1926.
Why'd you move to Apache?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, my folks was all here at Apache. They had all moved away while I was in France. And things had got in such shape that they had to do what they could to get by, and so on and so forth. So they'd come on up here to Apache and found that my daddy was a preacher. And they got him to come up here and preach, and he could make a living that way. They paid him.
What denomination?
Church of Christ. And they paid him to come up here and preach.
Did you know any of the old Indians around Apache?
Who?
Did you know any of the old Indians around Apache?
Old Indian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some old Indians.
Who?
I talked me. That was the oldest, I guess, that I know, the Albert I talked me.
Was he Comanche?
I think so.
What kind of man was he?
What sort of a man
Yeah.
was he?
Yeah.
Well, he was an Indian. And I don't know. I don't hold anything against him. I guess he was all right as a good Indian, but I don't know much about him. Can't remember about him.
What kind of work did you do in Apache?
Me?
Yeah?
Well, when I got home, I farmed for several years. I got married and farmed. I don't know how many years.
What was your wife's name?
Her maiden name was Mayhew.
Mayhew. What was the first name?
Inez.
Inez Mayhew. When'd you get married?
When? You're getting into some stuff that I can't hardly remember all about it. Married in 18 and 19 and 19, I guess we got married.
How many kids do you have?
I'll have to count them. 3 girls and 1 boy.
How many grandkids?
I don't know. I wouldn't count them. Probably 23. I think I counted them up here a while back and it was about 23. But that's not official. But it is with 3 girls and 1 boy.
Well, anything else you want to talk about the old days?
Huh?
Anything else you want to talk about the Army?
Anything else left out?
Yeah?
I don't guess so.
Anything in the Army? Like basic training?
Well, my basic training was just like I told you. I was just about to give you my basic training. I was trained at Camp Merritt, trained at Camp, oh shit, what is it?
Macarthur? Is that Camp Macarthur?
Camp Macarthur, yeah, that's where I was trained at Camp Macarthur.
How long did you pull grass?
Huh?
How long did you pull grass at Macarthur?
How long did I pull grass? Till we got the camp clean.
I mean,
Got
was it
every bunch of grass pulled out of there.
a week, 2 weeks?
And every weed, we pulled them out with our hands. And we just had a clean camp. It wasn't our idea, but we done it anyway.
Did it take, what, a week or 2 weeks?
Huh?
How long did it take? A week or 2 weeks or longer?
To clean the camp up?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say it took me about a week. I can't remember, but I can remember pulling grass several different days. Just wore your fingers off.
Well, I think we have a good interview. Did you know your grandparents?
Huh?
Did you know your grandparents?
Did I know my grandparents? Yeah.
Either one of your grandfathers in the Civil War?
My grandfather was an Indian fighter.
Tell me about him.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about him, only he told me about having his coattail pinned to his saddle with arrows shooting at him.
What was his name?
George W. Gilley. Gilley, Gilley. His name was George Gilley. And he told me about having his saddle pinned with an Indian arrow. His coattails tucked to it. Getting pretty close to it.
Now he was your grandfather?
He's my grandfather
On which side?
on my daddy's side. My mother's side, I didn't have no granddaddy. I never did know him. I know my grandmother. Her name was Cut.
Mm-hmm. Any more stories about your grandfather being an Indian fighter?
Huh?
Any other stories about your grandfather?
No, I don't know of any. Could rake up something, but I wouldn't know.
Now your grandfather Gilly, was that your
Huh?
grandfather Gilly? Now you said that was on your father's side?
My grandfather,
Yeah,
his name was Gilly. Is that what you said?
yeah.
Yeah, his name was Gilly, G-I-L-L-E-Y.
Now if your
Yeah.
father was George Parmer,
Yeah,
how was he related to your father?
well, there's a cross up in there. My daddy, it's a little hard for me to go back and get all that stuff. But my daddy's name was Jim Parmer. But he died. And my grandmother married George Gilly. I think that's just about as close as I can get.
Did he tell you anything else about fighting the Indians?
No, only he had several skirmishes with the Indians. George Gilly did. He
Did he-
was my granddaddy.
Did he tell you about them?
Huh?
Did he tell you about the skirmishes?
Yeah, he told me about lots of them, but I don't recall. I don't recall none of them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Cut it off.
Okay.
I don't know whether you got anything out of that or not, but almost, I'll say almost, everything that I give you was so. There could have been some things detailed that I stretched it a little or overdone it a little, but I didn't aim to, and I don't recall any of it. But it's possible that some of it is untrue, but none that I know of at all. But it's all true.
Okay. Put this back. Well, did you have a good time in France?
Where?
In France?
In France?
Yeah.
No. I didn't have no good time in France.
Why?
Why would I?
I don't know. Why not?
Wasn't nothing going on over there that I wanted, only I wanted to go home. And they wouldn't let me.
So you never saw the Germans then?
Never saw them.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
See, I've seen some German prisoners.
You did.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think of them?
Well, I didn't have much think of coming. They were just prisoners of war, and that's all you could make out of them.
Do you know any other guys from World War I?
Any other what?
Any other veterans from World War I that fought with you?
that's any other World War I veteran?
Mm-hmm.
Do I know any?
Yeah,
Well, I know a lot of them.
you do.
World War I veteran?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of them here, yes. Oh, they're going pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon there ain't going to be none left.
I know. Well, I'm going to head out. Thank you.
You're welcome. What